好啦，我哋而家係9點鐘香港時間，大家我唔知道你哋睇唔睇到我哋啦。Hi, can you hear me? You can hear me, right?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
Great to see you.
Hi, so actually 咧，我見佢咧唔係第一次嘅，so everybody 喺 winemaven 呢度啦，好開心啦。咁其實都有一段時間冇同一個對方嘅國家做一個 live 嘅，咁咧好開心，因為第一次做美國喎。So this is the first time. So I try to switch it up a bit, try to do different countries.
Right.
And because this is California wine month, I can't believe that I haven't done California yet. Because after all, that's where I started winemaking.
Right.
I know. So then the last time I saw
better late than never.
Perfect timing. Waiting for the perfect timing. So 咧，大家真係要多謝阿 Christopher 先啦，因為佢而家係好早啊。You look like you just finished running. I'm just saying it's really early in the morning for you. It's 6 a.m.
I'm an early riser. I'm an early riser. As we say here in the U.S., early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. And that's me.
Chinese 有個咩早睡早起身，but 下邊嗰度我唔識拼啊。I said Chinese have one too, the first part, but I don't know the second part. There's too much English. I have to find somebody to translate that part. But it's good. 有錢有咩健康同埋 Can you say it in English again?
Early to bed, early to rise
早睡早起身啦
makes a man healthy, wealthy, and
健
wise.
康有錢同埋聰明啊。I agree 啊，but not just man 啊，women 都係啊。
Women too.
Women too.
It's a sexist comment.
人
But it applies to women as well.
Okay, so 我同大家講 Christopher Beros 係邊個先啦？I'm just gonna introduce you first. Okay,
Sure.
or you want to introduce yourself first? No.
No, you do it.
Okay, 嗱 Christopher Beros 咧，佢其實係 I don't know if this part is right, because still, the founder and the president of California China Wine Trading Company, right? 即係除咗做 California Wine Institute 之外啦 because I was doing a little bit of research as well, because I noticed that you have a love for Asia. And I think this part really interests me, and I think a lot of the audience didn't know either. 即係點解咁喺嗰段時間 So how long ago, because I know, but why don't you tell us how long ago you started coming to Hong Kong?
So, it's really interesting what happened in my background, because I was in finance. I was an investment banker for many, many years. And in 2006, I was working on a transaction, a deal, and it brought me to China for the very first time in my life. And I was kind of jaded. I'd seen a lot of companies, a lot of CEOs and so on. And I come to China and I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm going oh my God, this is wild. And so, on that trip to October 2006, I also came to Hong Kong. And I immediately said, I want to get involved in China and in Hong Kong and in Asia. And so I started a company. It was more of a lark. It was like a extracurricular activity. I started this company to export California wine to China. And that was in 2007. And then in 2008, the financial crisis happened. So all the other stuff I was doing kind of was not doing well. And my wine business in China was taking off. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to devote myself 100% to the wine business in China, importing California wine to China. So set up we set up this company in Shanghai, and we had a good run. We raised a bunch of money, and we imported a lot of wine, and it was great. And then the end of 2014, sold that business, and I was all ready to come back to the U.S. and do something different, maybe in finance again or whatever. And that's when the Wine Institute came to me, and they asked if I would represent the industry, the California wine industry in Asia. And at first I was, I'm not sure that's really what I want to do, but I started to warm up to the idea. And it's what I've been doing ever since. And it's really, really fun. It's great. I work with great people. There in Hong Kong, we have Beatrice and Sally who are phenomenal, but I've got a great team in mainland China and in Taiwan and Singapore and Philippines, and we've got a good group of folks. promoting California wines.
That's so weird. Okay.
I mean, it's.
Stop.
Go ahead.
Aren't you thirsty? 等下先。我哋講太多嘢
Yes,
都未
I am
飲嘢
thirsty.
啊。Okay.
I am thirsty. Here.
Already ready. 第一時間 cheers 咗先 cheers.
I'm sorry. Sometimes I speak. Yeah, I love it. It looks great.
Looks great.
Is it bubbles?
Are you talking about the wine or talking about me? 哈哈
No.
哈哈！我哋 happy hour 9點鐘夜晚黑。
That's okay. So that's Long Meadow Ranch Sauvignon Blanc, right?
Yes.
I had that last night. That exact same wine.
You didn't wait for
I had it
it.
last night. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's my night time now, so
Cheers.
it's like the same.
Okay.
6點鐘朝頭早，我9點鐘 OK 啦。
I know it's morning here, but I'm drinking a little bit because I want to be part of the spirit.
Get the blood rushing. It's good. 好。
Right.
點解咧？其實咧，我覺得第一佢好似好靚啊。See, it's just saying the color. It makes you like.
It's great. Sauvignon Blanc is one of those wines that is so fun to try comparatively. So in France, they have Cellar. In New Zealand, they have New Zealand Pinot Noir, which all tastes like grapefruit and it's very high acid, and I love it. It's great. In California, Sauvignon Blanc has a huge range. There's high acid Sauvignon Blanc. There's fruity, lower acid Sauvignon Blanc. So it's really a fun wine to experiment and try from different countries and see what you like more.
I think it's a good starter.
Because also,
Yeah.
well, and also because it frequently it's not oaked. There's no oak, so it's a stainless steel.
Yes.
So all you get is the fruit characteristic, which is different than Chardonnay, which is oaked.
Yes.
So it's super fun to try because you're just getting the very distinctive fruit characteristics from the wine. So it's fun. I get a little geeky sometimes about wine, so forgive me. I'll try to keep it down.
Don't get me started. I get really geeky
I'll try to
too.
muzzle myself.
嗱，我其實咧去翻之前啦，其實好笑喎。佢話佢2008年嘅時候，都係我開始做酒嘅時候。大家我唔知你記唔記得我之前講過話，我2008年咧咪去咗加拿大拍戲嘅。I'm just going to say, going back to your year of this whole wine thing was 2008. I said that's funny because my year of wine thing was also 2008. And if the Chinese audience remembers, that's kind of like when I went to Canada to shoot a movie, we got snowed in, and that's when my wine journey started. Kind of like by accident, and how you were just exploring China and Hong Kong at the same time, I was exploring, well, I'm from Canada, but never had I been to Napa, ever. So it was also my first time, and also the first place that I went to explore wine stuff. And I'd never been to that place, ever. Like, California, I went to Disneyland. Like, that was the most of what I did as a child, going there. We drove, my dad drove us there from Vancouver, visit the family, and then you drive down there, do the Disneyland thing, maybe go on a cruise. But Napa, my parents never really did wine, so they wouldn't go to like wine country, right? But then when I went there, it was also because, I was growing up, went through a breakup, emo me, and relationships, 即係大家都知道有時拍拖分手，每個人都要經歷㗎啦。I went through that while I was shooting, and when I went to Napa, it kind of gave me a refreshing thoughts on relationship again. Because there's so many little stories, and it's not just relationship on love, there's a lot about family and like working together. And so I guess it just kind of renewed that like hope, the feeling of hope, and then the natural environment, because I had been in Hong Kong for almost 8 years, because I came here in 2001 at the time. So kind of like seeing because Canada was snowed in, so there's not much green at the time, but seeing some natural environment, I guess you just kind of feel a lot more calmer. And that was my introduction to Napa, and also where I started my wine journey. So and I was just trying to tell the audience that 其實佢又反轉喎，佢未嚟過中國嗰陣時， and that was your introduction to China and Hong Kong at the time.
Right.
And 好笑咯，即係like 呢個交流嘅 exchange 咧，係其實 wine to me has always been about friendship, happiness, bringing people together for whatever celebrations happiness or not happy, you do enjoy the wine and you remember it. It's always about precious moments, I think, and I think that's something in the last 2 years, no matter where you are in the world, has been really important. I think that I've heard a lot of stories locally here as well, where people have started to want to learn more about wine because they are eating different foods at home because they can't go out. But the time is really important because they're home anyways. So how do you switch it up and make it better? So then, like the introduction of California Wine Month, I think was really cool because they didn't know what California, that's it. They might have heard of Sonoma, but there's so many little places. Like nobody would go. They heard, Sauvignon Blanc, have you know that? Where is this grape from? They hear mainly the main grapes only. Zinfandel, I don't actually think they always hear Cab. To be honest, like everything's Cab in the grocery stores or in the wine shops. They, has to be accessible. They just see either like the sales sign, the price sign. They don't really know what the difference between grapes are. So it's, to me, to say, okay, when you said Sauvignon Blanc, it's refreshing, less oak, no oak. So we just need to give them the main basis and the key characteristics. Because for me, I would think salad, refreshing.
Yeah.
Chinese food, like soya sauce. I always think soya sauce or the lighter dim sum dumplings. So like culturally, like, they don't really eat salads for brunch, right? We'll eat warm foods, or if they're cold, they're more like starters or pickled vegetables. So I'm trying to find like how can we pair, because there's a lot of little dishes for the Chinese cultures. Anyways, that's where I find it exciting, is the wine and food. I like eating.
Well, I love what you said about California being, kind of innovative and open-minded, because I mean, it really is. When it comes to wine, and it's emblematic of everything here in California. We're very open-minded, and there's a lot of creativity. There's a lot of innovation that goes on here. There are a lot of companies that have, they're California companies, and them all. I mean, technology and elsewhere that are just sort of, let's not look at conventions, that try things differently. And that's true in the wine industry too. I mean, we were talking earlier about a Pine Ridge wine that's available in Hong Kong. It's a combination of Chenin Blanc and Viognier.
Yeah.
Which is like, who would have thought of that as a combination? And yet it's a super accessible, beautiful, inexpensive wine. And then you have Napa, which is only 30 miles long and 4 miles wide, and it's only producing 4% of California wines, but they make such incredible wine. So there's this sort of cornucopia of possibilities from
呢個字咧，中文你唔好
California
叫我去 translate 啊，cornucopia 中文我真係唔知。That's a huge word to like translate.
I know. A lot of English speakers don't know what that means.
即係其實係咯，即係其實覺得美國酒咧，我覺得代表好多新嘅嘗試咯。It's very like when I think of it too， 即係好似佢頭先都講啦，你會諗起好 colourful 嘅地方，其實佢哋個 logo 都好 colourful 嘅，你會覺得唔驚嘅。You're not intimidated to try. So it's a great introduction for people who are because when you think of wine, people are really scared. People are scared to be embarrassed. People are scared to order when they come up with would you like to order a wine today? And the menu is like this thick. Right? 咁好驚㗎嘛，咁我都試過啦。我之前咩嘢都唔識㗎。I knew nothing about wine, like literally nothing when I went there. I couldn't tell the difference between, like it's just red and white, bitter, sweet, I like or no like. Like I didn't know what Merlot and Cab was, right? But I knew that I liked it after I thought I liked the sweeter one, because I have to go to a lot of dinners. 即係嗰啲慶功宴啊， they just put the wine on there. Sometimes it's expensive and sometimes it's not, but we wouldn't know the difference. But when we try it, and thank you. I don't like it. And if you like it, you'll have some more. But then after a while, you start to learn what you see what the bottle is, and you'll be like, I see the same word all the time. And that's pretty much Because English might not be the first language, but the labels are in
You're
English.
getting educated.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are experiencing that.
This, what you're talking about drives me crazy about how, there's this view in a lot of wine countries in the world that you have to have a certain level of knowledge to appreciate wine, and you have to understand the history and the heritage and blah, 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 blah to appreciate the wine. And I totally disagree with that. If you like it, that's good enough.
Yeah, that's the first.
If you like white Zinfandel, great, more power to you. And you know what? A lot of these wines, especially these inexpensive wines, are gateways. They start you off, and then you start and you say, okay, that was sweet and that was nice. And then you try another white wine, you go, oh, that was more interesting. And then you get to a rosé or a Pinot Noir, and then it's like an evolution. You develop your interest and your taste and your knowledge, but you really don't need to have any knowledge.
所以你太快啦，你太快。You're too fast already. I'm not even gonna go. 嗱，we go 慢翻啲俾我哋呢啲咧，我都想知啊。白同白先，唔好去紅住。We go white to white first. 嗱，I have two whites here. I know I'm holding it in the air. You can't really see it. This one is not as yellow as this one. This one is a little more greener than this one.
Okay, so the one that is more yellow has more oak.
大家聽唔聽到？ 嗱，Mr. Beros
just immediately，
佢就話黃啲嗰個咧，一嚟咧就知道呢個咧有木，呢個冇木。OK，continue。
Okay, so but what you talked about just now is really interesting, because when you try to do tastings and you look at wine, the very first thing you do, even before you smell it, before you taste it, is you look at the color, right? And if it's really, really light, like the one in your left hand, I think it's your left hand, that one, yeah. That probably has had no or very little oak exposure. So what do you know from that? You know it's probably not Chardonnay, because Chardonnay is usually oaked. And then if you look at the one on your right hand, which is more yellow, being too yellow, I mean, usually yellow means either age or oak. And if it starts to get orange, that's really age. But the one on your right hand is probably Chardonnay because it's pretty yellow. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the wine is, but I mean, so the thing that's interesting about wine is that you just go through this reductive process where you start to learn about, even before you taste it, even before you smell it, you can determine something about it. And it's not necessary to appreciate the wine, but if you want to go in that direction, it can take you on a long journey.
OK 嗱，大家最基本，我哋而家喺美國啦，我哋當而家我哋去咗美國啦，最基本一拎起個酒啊，我就話喂，佢太快去咗紅啦，白其實好容易分喺佢個世界裏邊啦，喺 Beros 世界裏邊啦，我哋個 B and B，yeah，淺啲色，深色啲啦。呢個咧就應該因為佢話好輕啊，個 colour 咧綠綠地淺色唔係好深咧，應該咧就冇木嘅 ，OK， 應該咧就係 stainless steel 中係鐵啊，唔係鐵啊，不鏽鋼 ，OK， 不鏽鋼。咁呢個咧一睇咧其實好，我而家空中咧未必睇得到啊，但係咧係好黃嘅。佢話黃咧就有兩個原因 ，either 係木啦，or either 係年。OK， 年份好即係老啲嘅，年紀多啲 ，OK， 唔係老啲，OK， 好似皮膚咁樣食吸多啲，冇咁白 ，OK。咁但係咧呢個係佢哋個分析最簡單，估啱咗，其實佢唔知我飲乜嘢嘅。I said you actually don't know what I have，but bingo 喎，你啱咗喎，我係真係一個 Chardonnay 嚟㗎。So actually you're right. My second one is a Chardonnay.
Yeah.
係啊。
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
咦？
A Russian River Chardonnay, so I know exactly what that taste profile is like. That's a very good Chardonnay.
呢個係 Russian River，但係佢冇飲㗎。He doesn't know what I'm drinking。但 Chardonnay 佢估得啱，同埋因為佢話應該係經過木嘅 ，which is also one of my favorites. I love Chardonnay. Actually, I didn't like
Chardonnay.
white before.
It's a let's see if I can do that. Santa Rita Hills.
Huh? Guess what? Oh my goodness! Look at this Chardonnay.
Oh, you got a Santa Rita Hills too.
This is my Chardonnay.
The Santa Rita Hills is one of my favorite areas.
It's a very nice area.
It's beautiful.
This is
and
mine.
Pinot Noir too.
This is mine.
Oh, that's your wine.
That's my wine.
That's your wine.
This was my last vintage I did a Chardonnay when I went to Napa in 2014, 15. So I did yeah. But that's so funny because you had a Santa Rita Chardonnay. Wow, something 相通啊.
I love Santa Rita Hill. Santa Rita is fantastic.
It's so funny.
It's amazing.
Oh, cheers to Chardonnay.
Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. Yeah.
So okay. Back to
In fact, well, this one's.
我哋好多支酒啊！而家開始。What else do you have? What else are you opening at 6 a.m. for breakfast?
Well, the only one I
diet
have open is this one.
Oh,
Santa Lucia Highlands.
Santa Lucia Highlands.
Santa Lucia Highlands.
我之前嗰個都係。
Yeah, which is near Monterey.
Yeah, 2013 was Santa Lucia Highlands, my white. I think similar to 2013, that vintage in Santa Lucia was better for me. I think I did a 2013 there, my Chardonnay.
Yeah.
If I'm correct.
So when are you going to come back and visit and do more tastings here?
When you allow me into your country.
You're welcome anytime.
I can't. I don't have a. 唔得喎，好似 I cannot enter yet, right? We cannot enter the U.S. yet.
You know, I'm having the same problem. I can't come back because, I mean, I can come to Hong Kong, I guess, and quarantine for 3 weeks, but to China, my visa has been, you know.
I don't have it either. I can't go to China either.
It's frustrating. Yeah.
I only have a Hong Kong.
You should come back, and if you come back, I'll take you to some very unique wineries in some very unique places.
It just better not be like I go there and you come here, because that would have been like the 2008. You know, like I go there and you come here. That would be really funny. I'll quarantine at your place, you quarantine at mine. Except I have 7 dogs, so.
Well, I think if we wait a few months, there won't be any quarantines. But I mean, for example, I mean, I would love for you to experience the Sonoma Coast, the West Sonoma Coast, like way out at the ocean, where we talked earlier about City Super in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
They have Flowers.
Okay.
So Flowers is
there.
At that side. It's way out there by the ocean. And that area is very extreme. It's cold, it's foggy, and so on. And the grapes are really stressed, and they're higher acid. And I mean, I just love those wines.
We love challenges.
You know, the Chardonnays. Huh?
We love challenges. I'm a Capricorn. We like challenges.
I like challenges, yeah. I'm not a Capricorn, but I still like challenges.
你係咩嚟㗎? What are you?
Taurus.
Taurus 係幾時啊? 5月啊?
Businessman.
May 啊? Do I know a lot of Tauruses? I don't think so, 係嘛? I'm not too sure if I know a lot of Tauruses. We'll have to figure Taurus out. Okay. Now we may move to the red. 嗱，大家清楚啦，白係咁樣嘅 ，OK？ 但係咧，如果我要去嗰個區咧，佢話好近海咧，我需要嗰啲浮酒啊，我唔識游水嘅。I said if I have to go to that area that you just said is close to the water, I'm gonna need those floaters though. I don't know how to swim.
No, you don't have to go in the water. It's just near the ocean. You got me. You got me.
Cheers.
Cheers. So I should get a wine.
What are you gonna get now? 你飲紅啊?
Well, I'd have to run down to my cellar, but I have a wine that I'd love to have you try at some point,
Go on, like go
which
on.
is my wine.
Like go get it.
So you can just wait here for a minute?
Yeah, I'll talk to them.
Talk to them. I'll be right back.
Yeah, 好。
With a bottle opener.
OK，咁咧就佢而家咧做咩咧？因為咧我就 show 咗我自己嘅 Napa 嘅 wine 咧，佢而家咧就會攞佢自己嗰個。咁大家咧都其實用酒嚟交流得幾開心嘅。其實大家都知道呢啲小 tips 啦，但係可能會好容易撈亂點解？因為唔同嘅國家咧都會有唔同嘅原因，點解會係淺啲啊白啲？可能都係個葡萄本身嘅質。咁但係如果佢而家講緊係加州嘅大致上啦 ，because sometimes 咧去到譬如西班牙啊、智利啊、法國都有唔同嘅葡萄嘅品種嘅，未必係因為木桶會係黃啲，可能分鐘個葡萄都係黃得，所以咧呢個係譬如佢嘅認識of 美國嘅酒啦。So just keep that in mind， 即係大家都每一個國家每一個唔同嘅酒嘅專家會有唔同嘅睇法，不大致上咧 with 木咧，我自己個 experience 都係嘅，即係因為我中意木嘅，我又中意 vanilla 啲，我中意圓啲，因為我覺得對我自己個肚咧就舒服啲，同埋我食嘅嘢咧同 chardonnay 咧就多好多嘅平時海鮮啊。我自己就唔會忌廉汁，但係我咧就食 goat cheese， 即係羊 cheese 都得噶嘛。所以 Chardonnay 又中意 Sauvignon blanc 咧就哇好熱嘅，一出去海玩啊最好，因為冰凍咧就好容易飲，唔使話冇咁凍飲啊暖地，即係 chill 咗，但係冇太冰，聞唔到啲香味咧，我就會 Chardonnay 呢啲啦。Sauvignon blanc 有時 just very crisp clean green 都可以噶嘛。I'm saying like a lot of people。When to drink Chardonnays and Sauvignon Blancs. Like Sauvignon Blancs are great, chilled, very cold. Sometimes people like their oak Chardonnays not so chilled because they like to smell with the aromas come out.
Right.
So, you know, if you're going out on the boat, because right now a lot of people are going out on the boat in Hong Kong, it's so hot and sunny. A Sauvignon Blanc is perfect. You know, even like with a twist cap, sometimes it's just easy to handle. So I actually, you know, a lot of people ask the difference between corks. Twist caps, you know, they have the new plastic corks, and it's so many things that people are considering, and they're listening to people. Sometimes, you know what, if you're going to be out on the water in a boat, whatever's easier, twist. You know, because you've got so many things to worry about when you're out there, but I mean, if you're at a nice dinner and you've got an ice bucket where you're at a table that's not going to knock over glasses and bottles, then of course you can do the cork, you know, so I think right now a lot of people...
So
I'm a facilitator.
Like to go on the boat too, huh?
I don't swim, but yes, I like to go out on the boat. A lot of privacy, and I like sun, which a lot of people think is weird, but I haven't actually gotten a lot of sun.
I like sun too, but I'm from California, so it's kind of in our DNA. So I went to get another glass because I want to try this. So this is a wine that is from Alexander Valley. Called T-Bar-T Ranch.
咁嗱呢個係咁 Alexander Valley, where is that? Just so people, because actually a lot of people might not know.
So it's so interesting to me because Napa is actually relatively small. It's a small area, and it's dominated by Cabernet Sauvignon, and just next door to the west is Sonoma County, which is huge.
Yes.
And there are a lot of very distinctive regions in Sonoma County. There's Dry Creek, which is known for Zinfandel. There's Alexander Valley, which is known for Cabernet Sauvignon. There's Russian River, which is the wine you had, which is Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. There's Sonoma Coast. There's Petaluma Gap. There's a lot of areas in Sonoma County that are very good and famous wine regions. But Alexander Valley is known for Cabernet Sauvignon. And the style of the Cabernet Sauvignon from Alexander Valley is very distinctive from other areas. It's a little bit rounder, a little bit smoother, a little easier to drink. So for those people who like a big, super robust, powerful Cabernet Sauvignon, like a Napa Cabernet.
Yeah.
You know, it may not be for them, but for those that want something that's a little softer and rounder, it's pretty good. So this is one that I'll just pour it here. Hopefully I won't spill.
呢個我冇
And the
喎
thing is unique.
係嘛
The thing is
Can you
unique
pour
about
me
this
pour me
wine,
through the thank you
the color. The color is super purple.
Okay, so while
It
you're
looks like a
pouring
really new.
and Alexander, right, this is your cab. I have a cab too, but mine is from Livermore Valley. Okay, so our color would be what difference? Yours is more purpley. Mine is not as purple. Mine is more red.
Yours is deeper ruby
yeah,
red.
Yeah.
So is that the Charles Whitmore Wente one?
Yeah, Wetmore, yes.
Yeah.
嗱，我
that's a
同
good
佢嘅
one.
咧係同一個菩提子啦，so I'm just telling them we have the same grape，都係 Cabernet，但係咧好笑喎，佢嘅地區
Same grape.
yeah, yours is
Same grape from two different regions.
係啦，同一個菩提子唔同個區。But why would you be purpley and mine is ruby 咧？
Well, I mean, it's a good question.
但我聞落去咧
I'm not quite sure why mine is so purple, but
it's very purple.
The truth of the matter is that these two regions are very, very distinctive, and they're not that far apart. I mean, from Alexander Valley to Livermore is maybe 90 miles, you know, maybe 100 miles, but not that far.
唔係好遠嘅嗬，
And
但係好唔同。
because California is next to the Pacific Ocean,
Yeah.
which is so cold,
Yes.
and that cold fog influence really permeates everything in the wine country. And then we also have a lot of mountains, and we have a lot of valleys. We have a lot of different soils. We have, you know, these earthquakes, and so over time we've had a very geologically active terroir. And so, you know, there's a lot of variety in California, and so even though they're the same varieties from areas that are not that far apart, they could be very distinctive, and they are very distinctive. I mean, part of that is the grapes and the terroir, and part of that is the winemaking, because I know that Wente makes a really hearty Cabernet Sauvignon, the one you're drinking.
It's very jammy, very rich.
It's rich, right? Yeah, and you like it, right?
Yeah, this is I think. Well, see, the thing is, I'm not really a cab drinker. I'm a Merlot person, and I'm gonna explain that a little bit later. Something that's a.
I love that you said that. I love that you said that, because you know what, Merlot is such a great grape and such a great wine.
鬼唔知咩？我
And
呢
people
啲
have forgotten about it.
Yeah, we're gonna take this back to my industry, movies, right? You don't think I've had like this whole talk about Sideways and like what happened to the Merlot grape? When I was there, the story behind Merlot is the most 嗱 Merlot 咧係其實世界上咧最貴嘅菩提子嘅，我唔知大家知唔知啊？但係因為嗰套電影嘅 Let's talk about this husband-ex-wife thing. You know, he described the ex-wife as a Merlot and himself as a Pinot Noir, and then boom. So then killed my Merlot. And then they changed all the grapes and no more Merlot. And then now, survival of the fittest, what they say about the Merlot grape this year? Oh, no matter what the world's been going through, what has been coming out the best? I don't know if you've seen it. I'm looking at your little like Dalman, Harido. And did you hear about the Merlot grape this year?
But you know what? I'll tell you something.
Yes.
I mean, people who really love wine and who are really serious about wine love Merlot and really want that variety to become popular again.
Yes.
And I think slowly it is. You know, I think you're right. That movie Sideways, it's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
I mean, it
great
killed
movie.
Merlot.
It killed it, yes. Like it literally
It killed Merlot.
killed it for like a long time too. And then they did it in another language. They did it in Japanese, a full other version. I'm like, gosh. Yeah, but it was and before the movie, it was one of my favorite wines, and not knowing what wine was. This was literally just by taste. I think also because I like maybe a little bit more sweeter, softer on the stomach at the time, because I wasn't really drinking wines, right? I mean, here in Asia, you drink like Mao Tai, and that's like 59% proof, or like whiskeys, So then when Merlot came into my world, I was like, oh, because you have Cabernets were either really raw type of Cabernets that you would be getting at the dinner tables, at the celebrations. Like, they're not expensive wines, they'd be, mass wines. But for some reason, the Merlots would just be easier anyways. And so then I started to actually appreciate and learn about grapes. And then in France, I was learning about white Merlots, which is like the history side of Merlots. Then and then the movie hit, and it was like, oh. And then they were really uprooting the vines and changing them to Pinots and Zinfandels, right, up in Napa. So there's not very many Merlot vines, or they started wiping them out to replace them. And then so now though they're starting to replant a little bit more, because they've seen to, with the global warming and climate change, the last 2 years actually the Merlots in general have come out pretty nicely, even in France, and just because comparative they have to grow all three for the Bordeaux blends, that the quality of the Merlots have been able to withstand frost, heat, because it's unpredictable at this point. Like the last 2 years, all of a sudden you have frost in May, June, like it was crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, but
yeah. No, but I'm very happy to hear you say that you like Merlot, because I love Merlot, and
I love wine.
It's one of those,
sorry. I love wine, period.
No, I know, but it's one of those unsung heroes lately, and thankfully it's coming back. It's becoming more popular. But you're right. I mean, they went in and they went into vineyards that were Merlot vineyards, and they cut the they cut the trunks, and they would graft on Pinot Noir grapes.
Yeah.
And they would grow Pinot Noir, and
they had some hybrids that were Merlot Pinots, and they ended up being quite interesting as well. A little bit spicier versions.
Right.
I mean, I love experimenting too, but also I like tradition. It's weird.
So what are you having right now? Is that the
it's actually quite
the
sweet.
Cabernet?
Yeah.
Charles
I'm having this one.
Woodmore. Yeah, that's a good wine.
I think this is a good one. 即係我覺得香港個朋友都會好中意呢個，因為呢個好容易飲啊！即係之前你會覺得可能好多 I mean, a lot of people talk about decanting here. The minute you walk into a restaurant with a couple of bottles, like, oh, do I need to open it? There's a lot of technical stuff to worry about, and sometimes right now with the restaurants having limited time, limited seating, you don't even know if you got a reservation, and by the time you get a reservation, you have 20 minutes to get to the restaurant because they have to close by 10 p.m. So you have like, and a lot of people, it's because they canceled it.
So frustrating.
So this is, I'm just saying, this is a good one for if you just have to go to the restaurant, you can actually just open this bottle and not worry about so many times, and it's a good drinker.
Right.
You just kind of want to enjoy the wine rather than have to worry and sweat and about, oh no,
spend
is it
too
gonna
much
taste?
time, fussing with the decanting and the aeration and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, there's dinners for those, but then there's on a weekly basis, if you just go for a casual, you've had a long day, you want to have a nice easy meal, a bowl of chili or like 乾炒牛河. I really want a bowl of 乾炒牛河 right now. It's a Chinese flat noodle with beef, but I must wait until I come back from my trip before I can eat anything like that. I'm on my liquid diet, so I'm very happy.
You're going to Cannes. I mean, you're lucky. You're going to Cannes. You're going to be eating French food.
No, I will not be eating. I will be continuing my liquid diet for that entire period. Wow.
Okay.
I am now, because I really like this label. 嗱，我點解攞呢個出嚟都未到喎？但係我覺得咧，你睇下呢個好靚喎。This reminds me of a whole movie. Look at this.
I love that label. It's one of my favorite labels of any wine label. And a lot of those pictures on there, I remember from my youth when I was young. You know, I remember those pictures.
I haven't seen this. This
so
is a surprise.
many of them.
What, I don't even know what it is, this one.
I mean, you can spend a half hour just looking
at
all those images. And it's fascinating. And, you know, Oren Swift has done a great job on these labels. They're a little bit controversial, but they're fantastic. And the wine is incredible. I think it's Zinfandel based, right?
This one I don't even know. It didn't even tell me what it was. It didn't say what this one was.
I think it's Zinfandel based. It's a really big wine. Is that the wine you have in your hand?
No, I'm grabbing it now.
Okay. So it's a little bit higher in alcohol. It's, but it's a really, well, I won't tell you what you're about to taste. You taste it, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay, cheers. I smell it. It smells sweet.
Cheers. Cheers.
呢個幾好啊！呢個早餐 ，OK， 佢個早餐我個晚飯。嗱，佢冇講俾我聽咩菩提子啊？呢個佢個名係 abstract 嘅啫，真係好我唔知。我聞落去咧就好甜。I said I don't know what grape it is. All I've got is this label and it just says abstract. So then I'm doing the tasting with them. I smell it's sweet. I taste 有少少 tannin， 有少少 charcoal 嘅感覺喎，有少少鞋鞋地喎。鞋鞋地個 tannin 都高高地嘅。I like it's very grapey. I like it.
Grapey, right?
Yeah, this is a grapey taste. I'm telling them I feel it on my teeth, but it's actually very fruity. It's not bitter. I would think that with that type of tannin would be bitter.
It's very smooth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is not what I would expect. Like from that type of tannin.
I have a question. Do you feel when you're drinking it? Do you feel like it's a high alcohol wine or a lower alcohol wine?
High because I feel it in my 我喺我胸中 feel 到暖暖地。Chinese 係咩 ？I mean 英文係咩 ？Chinese 係 I feel the bit of the warmth in this wine.
Right.
So I would think it's a higher alcohol.
And I think, you know, I may have said Zinfandel, but I think this is like Petit Syrah, Syrah, and Grenache. It's got a really interesting blend of grapes.
Yeah, this one you really so 呢個幾分嘅。有時咧，they don't have to put the grape on here on the labels, right? So these are
not a red blend.
Yeah,
it's a red
it must be a red blend. So this is the fun part about certain wines like this. 其實除咗個 label 幾好玩之餘，你哋大家可以估下個菩提子係咩？because 呢個應該有幾種嘅。So it's kind of fun because you don't know, and it creates conversation.
And this is a very California thing. So, you know, in France or Italy or other parts of the world, you have very rigid structures about what you can put in the bottle. You know, it's got to be, like in Bordeaux, it's got to be these Bordeaux varietals.
Correct.
In Rhone, it's got to be these Rhone varietals. In Châteauneuf-du-Pape, it's got to be these 17 Châteauneuf-du-Pape varietals. In California, you can do whatever you want. I mean, you can put anything in the bottle you want. And so that's a good thing. I mean, we like to say it's a good thing. Some people may say it's not a good thing because you don't know exactly what you're getting. But I think the philosophy, from our perspective, is we're just trying to make a wine that people will like. You know, we don't really care. We don't have any rules. So we have the license to make, you know, whatever wine we want to make. It may be great, it may be terrible, but we can make whatever we want. And that's also part of the California philosophy of kind of everything.
所以佢好唔同嘅，即係如果你話大家，即係我自己都好研究法國酒啦、美國酒啦、 好多智利、意大利都試過啦，阿根廷啊、西班牙，but我覺得即係好似Mr. Beros 都講，譬如美國嘅酒有一個好處咧，佢唔係好多嘢控制住佢，佢哋可以乜嘢都嘗試，中意同埋唔中意係你自己個人嘅，同埋佢哋釀酒個方式都係嘅。點解佢哋可以嘗試好多唔同嘅，冇話規定要係咁樣，同埋釀咗出嚟咧，可能有啲火花啊 ，just telling them that is the special side of California wines or Napa and this area. I mean, there's no comparison. You don't need to compare, from France to Spain to California. It's actually each country or each place of wine has their specialty, and these are the characteristics of California wines, and that you should embrace this side. That sometimes what you blend out of it or come out of it is something cool. You guys have that whole philosophy of being able to try things. 咁譬如我哋試嘅酒 when we try these types of wines, you go in there with an open mind. Don't go in there with a Bordeaux head. You go in there with a surfing head.
Right.
Like you're gonna go in here to surf,
right.
or you're gonna go in here to skateboard. You're gonna skateboard along. Then you're not going in here going to buy a Hermes bag. You know what I mean? Like when you think of France, you think this.
Right.
When you come in here, you've got music going. Everybody's into skateboarding. I don't know. 香港而家好興啊 Everybody's into that small skateboard where they're doing tricks, or that finger skateboard. I don't know why they're doing that finger skateboarding thing. And I think the graffiti art is adorning our streets right now, with a lot of the modern contemporary artists as well, and NFTs, and how they're Bitcoining. And this is what I think of when I'm thinking of American, California, contemporary, nouveau, non-binding kind of wines. And I think that kind of is where new drinkers are coming in from, especially millennials and the Z generation. They want to learn about wines, but maybe they need to also know a little bit education-wise to have the conversation with, like you say, the bankers. But they don't need to know so much where, they need to carry the conversation because they need, they have the clients there, but they also want to bring something new to the table. And I think that's where I've kind of trying to bridge that gap of being informative, having the wine education, but kind of still keeping it on the fun side, or keeping that language open because it is.
I think you're dead on right. And I think the wine education piece of it it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Because, it's a door that can be open to people, and it's a door that can be closed to people. It's kind of like, in some ways, if some people feel like, well, if I don't know enough, I'm not worthy. I can't get into that world,
right,
because I don't know about the regions, and I don't know about the varietals, and I kind of know what I like, but I don't know how to talk about it. And so that's on one side, and that's the door being closed. And I think that's really unfortunate, because there are a lot of people who would love to engage in wine, but they don't know that much about it.
Right.
And I would say welcome. You don't have to know anything about it. And then there's the other side, where a lot of us know a lot about wine, and we can talk about it, and we can pontificate about it, and we can share stories about it, and we can spend our whole life learning about wine, and we'll never know it all. I mean, we just keep learning and learning and learning and learning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool too. I mean, that's great. I mean, some of my best friends, right there in Hong Kong, I have many friends who are, masters of wine or master sommeliers, right there in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And elsewhere in the United States. And I love getting together with them and talking about wine in a very sort of sophisticated way, and so on and so forth. But when I get somebody who comes to me who's maybe young, maybe a young person who's 25 years old and doesn't know that much, and is very tentative and unsure about what they should say or what they should express. And I say, you know what? Don't worry about it. What do you think? What do you like about this? What do you not like about this? Because there are no rules about that's good and that's not good. I hate that part of the wine industry that makes it like you have to know something and you have to have these rules about what you can and you can't do, and you have to understand the history and blah, 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 blah. To me, it's like so boring. To me, wine should be enjoyed. It should be embraced by people who just love it. And it doesn't matter whether you know anything about it or whether you know a lot about it.
Right.
And so that's my personal philosophy about wine. Sorry if I...
No, I mean 佢講得好啱啊，都因為譬如佢都講緊入行，即係入做酒嘅時候咧，我乜嘢都唔識嘅，其實我都好驚嘅，成日驚講錯嘢啦。唔好話做酒啦，我自己本身做我嗰行成日講錯中文嘅。I always say the wrong thing all the time. My Chinese is really bad, and when I speak in Chinese, I think English first. So I like directly translate, and sometimes in Chinese you cannot do that, right? But I do it anyways.
No.
And because I need to get it out, right? So I always say the wrong thing. And I think that with what you said is spot on how sometimes I feel about it with just not even wine, with my industry. So I came here not knowing a lick of Chinese and basically having to shoot in a language I don't speak. So I regurgitate, basically. I used to be in pre-med, so my memorization is very good before. I can basically look at your face and you are the piece of script. And I can memorize it, but I'm lost. But then it just happened to work because I was a princess going into the open, and so I'm still lost. So the face was lost. So I was lost. It worked. But then, I didn't know what I was saying. So I could say, basically I could regurgitate Chinese Shakespeare and not know what I'm saying, but I could regurgitate it for 20 years of my life. As long as I don't understand it. But if I start understanding things, then you start to question it. And that's that middle part where people start to question and get a little insecure, and then you can't remember because you start thinking too much. 即係諗多咗嗰個嘢啦，就開始諗多咗啦。但係如果你擺低晒所有嘢，你真係想欣賞嗰支酒或嗰杯酒 if you just really want to enjoy the glass of wine first before anything else, then you enjoy that moment first. Then, like you say, if you want to learn a little bit more, then do. I have also probably the same friends, those few MWs. I think the first person to reach out to me was Jeannie, and she reached out to me on Twitter. She PM'd me, and I'm a nobody in terms of the wine world. Acting, oh yeah, but then nobody really, in the acting world, they didn't know I do wine, because I really wasn't doing wine. I entered the wine in competition because I wasn't drinking it fast enough, and I had too much to store. And storage in Hong Kong is very expensive. 即係擺酒好貴啊，飲唔夠快，因為去咗內地拍嘢嘛，咁咪變咗最快係點咧？參加比賽一嚟咧4至6支酒冇咗啦嘛。So that's why I entered, because you enter competition, 4 to 6 bottles are gone, right? So that's less 6 bottles to have to store. So you enter, a few, so then you can take away 10 cases of wine. Then I started just to give away wine to charities. So the dinners was the one. There goes 17 cases, right? So that's how I ended up getting the wine out. In terms of people started to know that I was doing wine. It started to win awards, so then people wanted to try it, but I didn't know how to speak it. So like you say, then when you need to, or when you feel like you want to, then you learn a little bit more. And when I would go to the so-called wine snob dinners, they would look at me like, you don't know what you're talking about, because I literally didn't know what I was talking about. I would say how I spoke, which is my language. But then in order to equip myself and then get a little bit more serious, that's when I started to do the sommelier certifications, the WSET diploma, and because I went backwards, I was in the vineyards and making wine, where a lot of MWs have actually not maybe even walked down or harvested. A lot of them haven't, and a lot of sommeliers have never been to a vineyard. So really don't underestimate your own experiences. A lot of people, even a lot of people in the industry might have not had a $150,000 bottle of wine. They might not have gone around the world and have 3 Michelin restaurants, 200 of them in a row. But some foodies have. So everybody's experiences are different, and when it comes to food and wine and these type of daily luxuries or leisures, everybody has their own experiences that they can bring to the table. So I always say,每一個人有唔同嘅經驗啊、經歷啊。It is nothing more or less. It's just different. So I think that everybody should never.
I agree.
Yeah, a beer is great too sometimes. You just have,
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because here, the wine people, when they are harvesting or in the cellar or whatever, at the end of the day, they do drink beer. To make good wine, you have to drink good beer.
Yes. It's the same, not just, I think it's everywhere.
But to your point, it's like there shouldn't be so many rules about drinking wine. It should be more about what you enjoy and so on. And this is one of my, even though I'm in the business, I'm in the industry, and I love it, it just really frustrates me about how sometimes some people, want to make sure that you know this or you know that or whatever. I also am very interested in food, and I have a lot of chef friends, and with my chef friends, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
They love to come and just have a meal. And not, like I've had people to my house that are chefs, and I feel initially really intimidated. How am I going to cook
for
a chef, right? How am I going to do that? And then I just say, you know what? I'm just going to do it. If they don't like it, they don't like it.
Hey, do it Chinese style.
Maybe they'll like it.
打邊爐啊?
Huh?
I said, do it Chinese style. Put a big pot of boiling water in the middle and do hot pot. They love it. You don't have to do anything. Just put hot pot. Meat in. They cook themselves.
Okay. Good point. Next time I'll do that. But my point is that, I think you just have to take the leap sometimes.
Yeah.
You just have to sort of say, you know what, this is me. This is what I'm going to do. And you can like it or you can not like it,
right.
But this is what I'm doing, and I think that's a very healthy kind of attitude to have. I think that's a really healthy attitude to have, because I think that's the way friendships are created and relationships are developed and so on and so forth. And if it's not that, then it's just it's just commercial. It's just like, okay, you're not good enough. You don't know as much as I know. And that's just all kind of...
It's like I don't need to.
To me, that's not that, it's not that important.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't need to know that much, People find it very interesting. It's like, why did you make wine? 點解你會開始釀酒啊？點解其實有好多有個 story. There is a story, but at the end of the day, I mean, and why do you keep it going? It's not a cheap hobby, to be honest, to keep wine. I mean, for me, I'm a one-man band, right? And Napa's doing wine in the States is a little bit cheaper because you can buy grapes here, barrel it here, and then do everything, kind of outsource it. Bordeaux, you can't really do that easily. It's a little bit more expensive. But for me to keep doing it's because it gives me a breath of fresh air every year. I used to fly to Bordeaux 3 to 4 times a year. I went to Napa twice a year. Even if it's literally I fly 13 hours, I stay there 10 hours and I get back on the plane just to get that breath of fresh air from filming 37-hour days. And that's why I did it.
So do you want to see my cellar?
Are you gonna bring us down? 快啲啊！我冇時間啦，我哋個 live 要完㗎啦，你快啲啊 ！Bring us down. Move the camera.
But it's super small and super modest, but it's very, very authentic. And I think that maybe in some ways you'll appreciate how modest and authentic it is.
我哋一齊落去睇佢嘅 cellar 好啊
You want to see it?
Yes.
Okay.
So 佢帶緊我哋落去而家。I've opened my 我都唔知我開咗幾多支酒啦而家。 I'm opening another red one. This is Zinfandel while you're walking us down there. Okay? 因為 Zinfandel 咧，其實咧
Which Zinfandel is that?
California Zinfandel is the Prisoner Wine Company.
I
Aldo,
haven't seen
Saldo. There's no label.
Oh, Prisoner.
No label
Oh, that's a
label
great
嘅
wine.
Oh wait, 有啊喺上邊啊。
That's a big wine.
We saved the big for last. Not the best. Save the big
Oh,
for
that's
last.
a great wine. Yeah, that's a great wine.
Okay.
Okay,
While you're walking
so-
us down.
Yeah.
但係個
let
色
me,
好 sweet，但係好有 Bordeaux nose，好有 smells like a French wine。
Can you see me okay?
Yes, we can see you。好嘢，我哋落去佢自己屋企嘅 cellar 啊，最中意呢啲啊。
Okay, so
Wow！
so I'll give you the whole.
啊，每日你會好中意啊！你睇，因為同我屋企差唔多。我都有一個，但係冇佢咁大啊！我哋。
This side is my California wines.
哇！
Everything here is California.
嗱，佢都有一支支。
The ones on the bottom are more like daily wines. Okay.
嗱，佢自己嘅 cellar 佢分開咧美國酒啦，然之後下邊咧係每日飲嗰啲啦。
Okay, these are the big bottles, and I'll come back to that in a minute.
嗰
Okay.
啲大樽啦。
But over here have
個人係咁樣睇一睇，我就已經想
so
睇。
these are foreign mostly foreign wines.
我呢啲佢喺其他地方除咗美國。
Yeah.
Wow, so you organize these yourself?
Yes, I do.
一樽樽。
And then over here are my Bordeaux's. I have a lot of Bordeaux. I have some great Bordeaux wines actually.
Okay, do you have this? 我就想問佢呢樣嘢。Do you buy your things in threes? The rule of three?
Not necessarily. I mean, some of these wines I've been collecting for, 30 years. And
Wow.
some of these wines I got from my dad when,
啲酒咧30幾
So
年，有啲
I'll
係
show
爹
you,
哋俾佢。
I'll give you an example. So when my father died, I got all of his wines.
佢爸爸過身嘅時候，佢得到佢所有嘅酒。咁佢而家
So
有啲
things
就
like this.
哇
1971 Chateau de Kim.
7日
I mean, there's some great wines here. Let's see what else I have. I can show you.
好有意思嘅，好多時都係因為譬如爸爸啊 uncle 你任何個 occasion 人哋送啲酒俾你，
Oh,
好
here's
有
here's
我自己都係
a
咁樣嘅。
you'll appreciate this. A grain.
Grain 邊個年份先？我不停咁樣喐佢，我睇唔清楚。What?
But here's and I have a lot of Chateau
High five.
Neuf de Pape. But let me show you though some of my California wines, which there's
Wow.
some really good ones I have.
Very
So I
good.
have
小心啊！佢今日好快手先。其實睇呢個好玩嘅。
Stag Leap Wine Cellars.
Yes, I also have some Stag Leap too.
Yeah, it's very good.
Nice.
Yeah, and some. Okay, so this is a very special wine.
Greg Rich? I love him. Sorry, did I say that really loud? Probably
But
爆
look
咗咪
at
添啊。
this. Look at this. Can you see this?
Yes.
This bottle was signed for me by Mike Gergich.
Guess what? He sang for me. I will have to show you my video. We can't, that's a private video.
That doesn't surprise me. And I got some.
But you did
other
not
wines.
sign my bottle for me. We danced and he
But
sang.
Yeah.
Yep.
He does love women. Yeah. Let's see what else I have.
I flew
mean,
all the
I
way
have a
there to
wonderful
see him
here.
actually. I flew all the way there to see him and his daughter. 3 years
Yeah.
ago, 4 years ago.
Violet.
Yeah.
Violet.
And they told me
Yeah,
the story
Violet
of how they
daughter.
took over
I know her
that
really
land
well.
again. Yeah, by the railway.
Let's see. Anyway, I don't want to go on and on and on about my cellar, but I've got some great wines.
唔係啊，係啊，其實呢啲好有意思㗎啦，呢啲。
I also have some Baijiu.
哇！呢個好靚，我都冇呢個樽，所以佢哋真係好中意我哋呢邊嘅。哇！呢個我都有喎，呢個。It's like a cultural exchange. See, like with wine and food, and it's literally a cultural exchange.
Right. And this is the one area that I have. It's just like my most valuable wines are these big bottles. So I have some very valuable wines there. So I have a daughter who was born in 1996. And she, I wanted to buy some wines for her
Graduation?
birth year.
Yeah.
Right, to get to her when she
Gets married.
got married or whatever.
Yeah, 係啊，個個都係咁樣嘅，
and at that time, I was doing a lot of investment banking. I was in New York a lot. And I was there in like 2000 or 1998, something like that. And I thought to myself, okay, I should buy a case of first growth,
For each of the first growths, right?
wines.
Yeah.
Yeah, for her birth year, 96, which was great for Bordeaux, right? And so I thought about it. I buy a case of wine. Who knows where the bottles will go? So I should not buy a case. I should buy a big bottle. So I bought a
Big format.
double magnum, the double magnum of Lafite, 96. It's the most I've ever spent on a bottle of wine. It was $1,000 at the time. And I still have it down there. It was in the cellar.
You're not going to give it to her?
No, I will. When she gets married.
Okay. My vintage is a lot older than that, and still not, so if she doesn't get married, you're not going to give it to her? That's not fair. 哇！佢個女要結咗婚，佢先至俾嗰支酒俾佢喎。我覺得佢要 negotiate 呢個 deal 先。You're only going to give it to her if she gets married? What if she doesn't marry? You're not going to give it to her? She has the right to that bottle.
Well, she has a right to that bottle. She does have a right to that bottle, and it'll just age because it's a big bottle. It's a great vintage, and it's stored very well. So we have a lot of time to talk about that.
Okay. My vintage is very much older than that. Doesn't mean
What vintage is that?
I'm a 79. Not a great vintage. But all the bottles that have been made from that vintage obviously is the best because they had to be selected, right? Selective.
That's true.
During the harvest.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the 70s, I don't know what the great vintages were.
Not 79.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, this is one of the beauties about wine, is that you can get into vintages, and you can get into countries and varietals. I mean, there's so much. It's so rich in terms of content. You can spend a ton of time on any wine you want to.
Yeah.
And this is where I find the excitement about wine still, and I've been very interested in it for 30 years. But it still intrigues me when there's something new you learn, and there's a new wine you try and you say, oh my God, that's so good, and it still happens. It still happens. I mean, there are wines you have every day,
right,
and they're good and you enjoy them, And then every once in a while, you'll have like a really special wine.
Yeah.
Where you go like, oh my God, that's so good. And it still happens. And, you know, after 30, 35 years of drinking wine, you still have those experiences. And people will say, well, what's the best wine you ever had? And I can't answer that question. But I can point to a few wines I've had that were really, really special. And it's interesting how your brain still triggers, you know, and still kind of locks in on those really great wines that you've had. And it's not, you know, sometimes it's not just the wine, sometimes it's
the reason. Yes, yeah, correct.
The people you're with and the timing and everything else. But it's good. It's a great lifestyle thing.
Okay, well, I think the next time I will have to be over there. But you cannot come over here until I go there, yeah. Then we can be in the vineyards, and that would be a cool live to do with the Hong Kong.
I'd love to show you around. I would love to show you around, and you know, I know a lot of folks that I think would love to host you and winemakers and stuff. So
that would be so much fun. Okay, 大家我已經超標咗超時間啦。We like way went over time, but we had like so much wines to share, and I think everybody was so excited to see your cellar. 我覺得好多人咧未見過一個屋企裏邊嘅 cellar， 因為我自己嗰個咧都好細嘅，但係其實佢哋個個屋企係真係一個 wine lover 咧，就真係每一支酒喺裏邊咧好有意思㗎。I was just saying like, I actually have a cellar in my home too. You know, Hong Kong is not a very big place, but because a true wine lover,
it's hard. It's hard to have a wine cellar
like,
in Hong Kong.
Yeah, no, and I had like 4 fridges before. I have 3 fridges and like my dad's room is no longer my dad's room. It's a wine cellar. And so I'm just saying like it's literally it's very exchangeable and people don't understand, I think, but when they start getting into this hobby, they really want to keep like each bottle has a meaning and they'll remember the stories behind it. And so I think
exactly. You pull it out, you look at the bottle, you remember it, you talk about it. You know, it's like my good friend Beros, who lives there in Hong Kong, and he's been here and stayed at my house, and we've gone into my wine cellar, and you know, when people who really appreciate wine come, you want to open up your best wines because you want to enjoy them with people who really appreciate them.
Yeah, it's so like one after the next.
You need to come over here, and when you come to my house, and we'll open some great wines.
我哋大家一齊過去好好。今日好多謝阿 Christopher Beros 同我哋 share 呢個時間。我知佢好早，佢而家啱啱起身啦。我哋咧就飲多少少咧就瞓覺㗎啦。我哋呢邊係咁咧好多謝。Next time we're gonna be over there and we're gonna invade your cellar. 好啊。Cheers. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Cheers to you. Thank you. Bye bye.